told the story of America, they described a nation that did not falter. We did not back down. And we conquered even the most tremendous hardships. During the Great Depression, we were hungry, our clothes were ragged, and we did back-breaking work for starvation wages, if we could find any work at all. Proud fathers stood in bread lines for hours and waited for watered-down meals at soup kitchens just to feed their families. But neighbors reached out to neighbors, and we helped each other through those hard times. We kept our dignity and fighting spirit and showed the world that we are a resilient nation of strivers and survivors. When World War II arrived, America didn't cower as an evil tyrant threatened to take over the world. We heard the call to arms and proved that the United States could be counted on to defend the freedom and safety that all people deserve. And as our young men bravely fought to protect the ideals of democracy, 6 million American women took on the nation's hardest jobs in manufacturing and production. These women showed that patriotism is not only displayed on the battlefield, it can also mean punching a time clock to provide for loved ones. When the war was over, it was time for our soldiers to get back to work, to enjoy life, and start a family. And start a family we did, as 75 million new Americans were born during what became known as the baby boom. This was the beginning of America's golden age, an era of prosperity and development that would change the world. It was a time when our government was truly of, by, and for the people. In 1944, Congress passed the Montgomery GI Bill to help U.S. veterans re-enter the job market. The GI Bill allowed millions of young people to become doctors, engineers, farmers, and business owners. And in the span of just a few years, nearly 2/3 of Americans entered the middle class, achieving prosperity through hard work, ingenuity, and a never-quit attitude. During the 1950s, the U.S. economy doubled, and then doubled again in the 1960s. The American dream was alive and well, and for millions, this dream was fulfilled when they left the hustle and bustle of the city and put down roots in the clean and safe suburbs. With the average cost of a new house just $9,500 in 1955, even a middle-class family could afford a spacious new home with a modern kitchen, all the amenities, and of course a white picket fence around the yard. And we didn't need two parents working to make ends meet. Dad had a secure job, and Mom was waiting when the kids got home from school. Summers in the suburbs were filled with barbecues, bike rides, baseball games, and visits to the pool. It was a time when service stations actually provided service, when 5 and dime stores really sold things for 5 and 10 cents, and when all you needed was a nickel to mail 1 letter and 2 postcards. It was also a time of great achievements in manufacturing, technology, medicine, and science. It was American engineers who paved the way for all modern electronics when they developed the transistor, the integrated circuit, and the first digital computer. It was also an American company, RCA, that produced the first commercial color television in 1954. Now, instead of listening for the crack of the bat over the radio, we could watch the ball fly out of the park and see Mickey Mantle rounding the bases in living color. And we could swing our hips and sing along with our favorite performers. It was an American researcher, Jonas Salk, who developed the polio vaccine in 1952, a discovery which effectively eliminated a disease which had killed or crippled millions, including former President Franklin D. Roosevelt. The car industry also began to flourish during this time, with General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler leading the way. With the average cost of a new Ford less than $2,500, millions of middle-class Americans could afford their own transportation. If you had a little more scratch, you could buy a Corvette or a new Cadillac for less than $5,000. And it didn't cost that much to fill up the tank, because gas was just 25 cents a gallon. During the Great Depression, even the smallest indulgences were a luxury. And yet by the end of the 1950s, most American families owned a car, a television, a refrigerator, and their own home. It was a time when the majority of those in Congress were committed to honoring the Constitution, representing the people, and putting our money to good use. The interstate highway system was a product of this period, allowing workers and families to spread out across our great country. and helping us easily visit friends and loved ones whenever we wanted. American ingenuity won the space race and put a man on the moon.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
And as our national prosperity continued to grow, the American dream granted us a roadmap to an early, comfortable retirement. And as our excellence propelled us through the years, we thought the good times would last forever. As the 80s turned into the 90s, we watched the stock market rise and our home values soar. Then, right when we had it all, the world turned upside down. The American dream became a mirage and vanished. In less than a decade, the hopes of an entire generation, what many have called the greatest generation, came crashing down. The trouble began as the dot-com collapse erased $7 trillion from the stock market and decimated the retirement accounts of millions. Then, just as it seemed we were on the road to recovery, a perfect storm of economic disasters hit the country and the world. The bursting of the housing bubble wiped out $7.4 trillion in equity, taking with it half the net worth of the American middle class. As the Great Recession began, the U.S. stock markets plunged 40% in 2008, and trillions more disappeared from American retirement accounts. During the golden era of America's middle class, Detroit, Michigan was the magnificent center of the automotive universe. Today, in a symbolic twist of fate, it looks like a war zone. The American middle class was our nation's engine of growth for half a century. Even blue-collar workers had the opportunity to retire in comfort, with pensions that were fully funded just as promised. Yet today, instead of experiencing the leisure and security we planned for our golden years, 75% of the American middle class expect to work through their retirement. And with unemployment reaching epidemic levels, not even that is a sure thing. The economy has lost 8.7 million jobs since the Great Recession began, and those who can get work are making less money. It's no surprise that the confidence and optimism Americans took for granted has been replaced with pessimism and doubts about the future. So what caused the American dream to crumble? Politicians in Washington, D.C. don't seem to know, and that's because America is not found in the marble buildings along the Potomac. It is not found on Wall Street either. America is made up of those who build, teach, heal, grow, manufacture, and raise a family. It is found in the homes and hearts of 307 million Americans. People like you helped build America and make it great. But the comfortable retirement many dreamed of has been stolen. The America we know and love is not coming back. The actions you take from this moment forward can be the difference between feast or famine, between ensuring that your golden years are safe and sound, or uncertain and unstable, and between giving your children and grandchildren the future they deserve, or adding even more challenges to their road ahead. The choice is yours, but you must act.